What's up, you guys? Hello, hello. Just a couple minutes off here today. Let's see. I'm going to open this one. Changed it to this one. What's up, Logan? Evan's in the house. What's up? Jose's here. Who's JX Midnight? Who are you? What's up, by the way? All right, you guys, we are going to go over the rest of the bouncing ball projects because the majority of you got them in. Let me go over here. I need to go here. Let me do this. I'm going to delete these. Bring other ones in. All right, here we go. Janae, sweet. What's up, Janae? Not much, just changed my profile pic after around 4 years. Efren's in the house. Yeah, I never change my profile pic. Where's my pen? Here it is. Okay. All right, you guys. So today we're going to go over the rest of the bouncing ball projects, and then we're going to likely introduce the project for this week, which I will get to in a little bit. I will probably still post the module. Let me bring up Canvas here. 1 second. All right. Let's see the participation question. Let's do, this is a good one. I'm going to post that right now. It's due Monday night for the 4th participation question. And then also something that I accidentally did and sent an announcement out to you guys for last week's project that we did with the typography. So I realized over the weekend that the due date, I wasn't seeing anyone turn them in, which I kind of thought was weird because usually you guys will turn them in earlier. And I didn't see that happening. And so I checked the due date range of the project and I had it wrong. I meant to have it due between yesterday and Monday, which is the 19th. And instead I had it the 19th through the 26th. And so I updated that. Hold on 1 second. Let me turn something on. I changed it to the 14th of February is when, so tomorrow, right, is when it's due, when the due date range starts, right? And instead of cutting it off on the 19th, I left it until February 26th here, just so that you guys have a little extra time because that was an issue on my end and not your guys' end. Efren's gonna be in Mexico the 20th through the Angel's gonna be in Mexico the 20th through the 28th. Angel, write me that information. Remind me of that in Canvas and we can chit chat through Canvas, or if you do it through Discord, I can look through Discord and we can talk there. Because since this is a live chat, like anyone who goes and watches this can see that stuff. So, it's more private. We'll discuss it off the stream. But just don't forget to let me know so that we can talk about it and we'll discuss the projects and stuff. And so, yeah, so now it's due the 14th through the 26th of February. Anything after the 26th of February will be considered late. Now, with this new module that we're going to talk about today, this one is going to be due this upcoming Monday through the 26th as well. So the 19th through the 26th. So you're going to have kind of two projects overlapping for the first time in the semester. And I mean, that was partially, like I said, due to my end. So I'm not going to, that's why I left the typography due date range up until the 26th. But you have two projects due within this date range, so make sure that you're keeping up on it, right? This project will take the longest, but the other one we did first, and so it might be worth starting with the typography one, getting that done, and then working our way to this one so that we can go over them in class. So we'll talk about this in a little bit here. Let me move this back over, and let's jump into reviewing the rest of these. Ooh, cool. Taven just sent me his, so let me download this as well. There's a couple of these here that did not have, let me see. Let me close this. I'm gonna write your, there we go. So I might have to look up who was who. But let me drag this in here. All right. So let's start. Okay, I'm going to go directly to this. Close this out. Oh, I did have a few people still turn in project files and not the actual render file of like the actual MP4 rendered out version of their projects. Unfortunately, I won't be able to view them because it doesn't save with the assets, so I can't grade those, right? I'll leave you a note if you did that inside of Canvas, and you know, I'll let you know if there's any other issues with it, but there's a few years that I won't be able to give review on today because of that fact. And so make sure that you're paying attention to the live streams, recent ones, because I will go over how to do some stuff. One of the issues was zip files, right? You have to make sure that you're unzipping the file before you do anything with it, because if you're working in a zipped file, it's not going to save anything, it's not going to export your work. So you have to, again, like this is a zipped file. Before I would do anything in it, I have to right click and extract everything. If you don't do that, you're going to run into issues rendering or doing other stuff or saving things. So make sure that you're paying attention to that kind of stuff. And if it's a zip file, you want to extract all of the elements within that file before you start working. All right, so let's go right here. This is bounces. Who's turned that one in? I don't know who turned this one in. Process of elimination. We'll do that one last. All right. So first here we have Melissa's. All right, Melissa, let's play this. Let's close this main render out. Not a problem, Maria. What's up? All right, let's play this. Ooh, cool. Text animation there. Neat. Yeah, Melissa, looking good on that. Cool. Yeah, the text animation, I'm digging it. Let's kind of stop here. Go back one. We'll do that, and then we'll just replay this. So looking at the Adobe Animate ball, looks really good. Like I specifically really enjoy that you threw the stripes in there. It looked like you did kind of a mix of both using the object transform, right, and just creating a ball and then moving that ball down and transforming that object, but also with the hand-drawn elements because of the hand-drawn like shadow that you have here and the little guidelines, which are really cool. I really like this. The ball is a perfect, there's a little bit of a, let's see here. There was just a little bit of a kind of hitch in the animation, and I believe that's because of the frame that I had it on. But that looks really, really nice. The squashing that you have is really good on that ball, and the stretching as well. The stretching looks really good, especially when you keeping like the consistency and the width of the stripes here while you're stretching out the ball, like you thicken the line, which was smart thinking. That's important when doing this, is like thinking how would the look of the ball change based on how it is manipulated, right? Or just any object in general, is thinking how whatever's like attached to that object. So if you think of a character, clothing, anything like belts, any kind of backpacks or things that they're wearing, how those objects would manipulate alongside or be affected by the main motion of the animation, right? So that's really cool. I don't have any changes on that. And you did a really good job overall with the color palette here. I guess if I were being picky, I might just change this to kind of like the white colors so that the shadow kind of matches. Even though you would think it would look like a highlight, I think it would just bring the colors together a lot better. I wouldn't even say a lot better. I think that it's really, really good. As far as the After Effects ball here, first of all, good job on the motion blur that you have, and I can already see that you have some stretching that's going to happen on the way down. So we've got a good pacing with everything. All the balls really bounce within the same amount of time. Really impressive with that. I don't have any changes to the After Effects ball either, because the timing of the squashing and stretching is really good. The motion blur looks good. Overall, it really started strong here. And then same with the Cinema 4D ball. I know that you were mentioning something about changing the squashing and stretching values, right? You didn't stick to the values that I had put in the tutorial, and that's okay. You guys can mess around with the values a little bit as long as you're sticking to the main concept, right? If you're expanding out on the X and the Z axis, then you need to squash down on the Y axis, right? Just remembering that concept will help you to determine which values are going to work for whatever you're doing, right? So if you wanted a more subtle squash, that is fine. But this looks really, really good overall. I guess the only thing that I would change is maybe the shadow there. And then let's see here. I just want to make sure. I think that it's, yeah, everything's very even. Really, really good job right away. Will this be continuation of the typography lesson? Also, I looked at the typography projects due tomorrow since it's available until this. Yeah, it is very beautiful. Hers is. So Maria, I might actually touch base a little bit more on like the contact information one, but I was talking about the due date issue in the beginning of class. So if you just rewatch the first few minutes of class, I talk about that, and you can just catch up on that there. But it's the 14th through the 26th. So I didn't shorten the range. I actually just kind of extended the range because it was my fault, not your guys' fault. But also then this new project this week is going to be due within the similar date range. So just rewatch that section and you'll find out. It'll be easy. But the typography project is going to be easier than they're both not bad. This one, it'll just take a lot faster. It'll render a lot faster than the one that we're going to do this week. So just keep that in mind. All right. Yeah, really, really good job here, Melissa. Let me see. Thanks for the clarification. I have things due today, but wanted to know what this lesson would be about because I feel like I'm still in the bulb. That, it's learning to juggle. That's a big part of learning animation because, like Maria's saying, she's kind of feeling like she's still stuck on this project. And I know there's like circumstances surrounding that. So, but like learning to juggle. Oh, it's Melissa. Oh, really good job, Melissa. You killed it on this. This looks beautiful. Really good job. But learning to juggle multiple projects at the same time is really important when you're in this field or any kind of design field, right? Because you're going to get multiple projects at once. I'm usually on about 5 to 6 projects. Sometimes I've had 8 projects at one time. Obviously, like you have to stagger dates, like due dates when the clients want things due. So there's a lot of back and forth and collaborating together to figure out like due dates based on things. And then you just have to think what's due first, right? Whatever's due first, I better get that done. So just, work in that order. And sometimes you have to put one thing down because you've seen it too many times and pick another up if you have the availability to do so. So it's just learning to really juggle and to just time manage. So part of growth, especially in this field. All right, let's do the next ball here, which is Cohen, Alexandria. Okay, let's play this. Oh, wrong. Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, I understand. If we'll talk about that kind of stuff. But catching up will be important. You don't want to stay too far behind, but yeah. And then utilize Belle if you guys need to. Belle is a wonderful tutor and she helps everyone. She'll help you get through a project a little bit quicker if you need to. We're going to review the projects at the beginning here because I need to get through the rest of these because there's several of them. And then we're going to be introducing the new project or maybe talking about contact information from the typography one, but likely not. Likely I'll be introducing the new project tonight. We'll see. All right. So let's play. Ball bounce. Ooh, really good job here. Really good job, Alexandra. Let me go back to this. 2 seconds. Perfect. And let's look at the Adobe Animate. First of all, really consistent color palette throughout. Looks really nice. The bouncing ball looks really good. You've got like more of an exaggerated squash happening to the Adobe Animate ball, which makes it look really cool. It turns into like almost a bean at the bottom. I guess if I would say anything, you could even stretch this bean shape out a little bit more so it almost flattens a little bit more. But I mean, if you do that, you got to thin it. Yeah, you just would have to thin it out a little bit. I think that overall, it's really, really good looking, hand drawn. I would, let me see if these, yeah, you can maybe even add a couple more of those really short motion lines to the back here if you wanted to kind of just give a smoother transition. Because right here, these motion lines just kind of cut right there. And so you might want maybe 2 or 3 more frames with those on there. And it'll kind of smooth those out. You just shorten them up real short. That's what I like to see. Some like camaraderie in the chat. Yeah. Yeah, encourage each other. It's not easy for everyone. Some people have a lot easier time following tutorials. Some people have a harder time. So, fantastic job on the After Effects ball too. You guys are on a really good start here. The motion blur looks really nice. The squashing looks really good on the bottom. I think that you could probably, depending on, just double check your values to make sure they're the same there. On the, when you change the X, you add to the X, you subtract from the Y, just double checking. But to me, it looks okay. It looks like you just did less of an exaggerated squash and stretch, which is fine. But it's real snappy right at the bottom. It looks really nice. Same with the 3D ball as well. Really snappy. You have a little bit of a... That looks good. I have to sometimes block this out. to see. Yeah, no, I think that the squashing and stretching looks really good. The ball looks really bouncy and stuff looks really nice. I was gonna say that I thought I was seeing something wrong with it when it was hitting the ground, but no, it looks really nice and fluid. You did a really good job. I would just say to yeah, just change the motion lines on this and then you'll be set to go and re-render this out and um overall it looks really nice. Solid work. All right. Let's see. Sarah Granger. I don't think there's any notes posted on Discord, but if you guys, um, yeah, so I can get the gist of understanding the subject of the ball animation. Not any note. Yeah, no notes posted on Discord. Yeah, if you guys have notes that you want to share on there, definitely do it. I think that it'd be helpful for everyone. And if you've got the notes, why not? Why not just help a brother out? You're not gonna. It's not like you're giving test answers, and a lot of this field is helping each other work. Like I ask my coworkers stuff all the time. I'm like, Chad, help me. I'm drowning, you need to help me. So there's things, there's techniques we all need maybe a little bit more help on, so definitely do that. And then definitely if you guys have those notes, to post them in there. Strong job so far on these, so you guys, for these ball bounces. All right, let's play this. Nice. Okay, good text one. Let's start here. Let's shut this right there. Nice. Yeah, overall it looks really nice. Really good color palette here. I like the different colored blues. I know that you said you worked with like two different tutorials, right? You did one from a past class and then you did one from like an updated class, and that's totally fine. I don't really see the difference. Here looks really cool. The colors that you have on this ball look really neat together. I think that overall this is really strong. The one thing that I noticed right away is everything is kind of congested, especially considering that we have a rather large like platform here, which you guys can always make a little bit smaller, right? Because that platform is not animated, and especially like the scale's not animated. So if you guys feel like you want a little bit more wiggle room on there, you just have to open that file up, and you guys can all re-render this if you want to. You don't have to, it's not necessary. But if you guys want to keep these a little bit closer together, you can just open that file up. Let me do that off to the side here, and then I'll show you guys. But if you're not going to do that, just spread these apart a little bit more so it gives a little bit of extra breathing room in between, because they're just slightly tight together. As far as the animation goes, though, everything looks really solid. You have some really good frames here. They all match up. You guys are really doing good on the 2D animation, the hand-drawn one. I usually have a lot of issues in other classes where there's like missing frames up at the top, and not with your guys's. You guys did a killer job on this, which is not always easy. I would maybe just draw like something additional on these, like maybe you have like the shine happening on the ball, like that little, kind of light reflection streak happening on the ball, and it would just make it look a little bit more almost like it would kind of join in with these ones, right? Because we've got that light streak happening, or the light reflection happening off the ball on the 3D one. I think it just tied in a little bit. Also, other people have been adding shadows, so you could do that too, because that looks really cool. The After Effects ball as well, really good job on the adding the motion blur here. Great job masking out. You guys have all done a really good job masking out the floor. And then the animation looks really solid. Nice solid squish on the ground, a really nice smooth looking stretch going up. So there's really no changes I have here. This is a big thing, right? If you can shorten your work comp here and play your animation over and over and over again, it's not jumping when it goes from the end to the beginning. There's not like a jump look there, then you've got all the frames matching and everything looks good, right? And so you guys have been doing a really good job matching those frames up and making sure that they're all like that there's not really any jittering or anything happening, which makes your life easier. Good job on this, Sarah. Very good job. Let me, hold on. Gotta activate my license in order to open Maxon. Of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Do you guys know what Disney animation that's from? Let me activate her. Yes, this one. Here we go. Okay. It'll say, Maria, it should say in the live stream title. I usually update them. Okay, let me bring, if I need to. Let's see here. Okay. If you guys wanted to make the stage smaller, you just come into the studio right here and you select the stage and you have to turn off this protection tag, right? So you can click it and I think you can turn it off, expose the object. Let's see if that works. If I hit T, yeah, it allows me to do that. So you can just expose the object and you can bring this down a little bit. And then I would hit T, or I'm sorry, E for the move tool and maybe just bring it up slightly. I guess you can't. Once you do it once, does it? Ooh, you have to do it one at a time. So you can remove the protection tag if you need to. I would actually do that probably. Just delete the protection tag right there and then you can scale it. But I wouldn't, I wouldn't move it out of frame, right? Because this is locked into the frame here. So you guys can just scale that down if you want to add more room. And if not, just make sure they're spaced out about evenly within the comp. All right, let's see here. Trenton, I'm going to post my typography project to Discord soon, but I'm adding something fun at the end. Exciting. I love that. I love when you guys are having fun with your projects, right? Do something that makes you happy within them. All right, so Trenton's project here. Let's fit this to screen. And let's play. All right, good job here. Good start on this. We're running into, okay, first here, I would extend the keyframes on that, let's see here. Main render. This is the one. When you have your type here, extending those keyframes on that type to allow that the text to be on screen long enough, right? Because right now the text on your ball bounce here is just too fast. And we don't get a chance to read it. So you might want to just extend it to maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds, and then you should be fine there, just having that on. Also, what you have here is your masked out solid is showing the entire time too, so you might want to make sure that you're pre-composing that in with your one ball bounce, your After Effects ball bounce, so it stays within that one, and it's not out here floating in the beginning of the project when you have the text on screen, because we want it to be blank and then fading into everything here. Let's go ahead and move one frame over. And then the as far as the color palette goes, everything looks really nice and consistent. Solid red choices, because red can be a little tricky sometimes, especially with the saturation. People will make it really bright. And then depending on what colors you use it with, it can be difficult on the eyes. But this looks really nice, right? It looks like a good, solid color palette, a lot of contrast within it. Now, the balls are already starting on the floor. You kind of want them to start up at the top initially on this. So make sure that maybe you just move your layers over so that the animation starts at the top. Or what you need to do is, you need to sequence those. If I go here into my main composition, come on now, main render, you'll notice that the only things showing in the beginning are the solid and the text, right? And so I moved this composition, this pre-composition over that has all the 3 balls in it. So they all start here, but because the pre-composition is in the main render comp, depending on where you drag this will determine where the video or that layer begins to play, right? So you'll just have to drag that over maybe a little bit. And if you cut this off, like if I were to bring this down here, kind of like yours starts, and I were to shorten this layer, right? So remove that, then I'm missing this whole chunk here. So you want to make sure that you're not doing that. And so then all of a sudden mine starts with them on the ground as well. So you want to just make sure that it is not like that your layer isn't cut off or moved off screen. You want to make sure that your pre-comp layer, you just move it like this. You just click and drag it along the timeline, and you can line it up here using your playhead as like a marker for where you want it to go. But if we watch the bounces, let's close these again. Really nice. I think that we're gonna approach this one first. It looks like what's happening here, it's kind of what I was talking about just a second ago, is right there your frame disappears, and that split second causes kind of like a jump. So you might just have to go back into your Adobe Animate file and just add an extra frame there so that it's consistent around. But just make sure you only have 24 frames total, and that you don't have like 25 frames, because that'll throw off your bounce when you bring it into, when you import it into After Effects and then interpret that footage into 24 frames a second from 12 frames. Right? Because we're creating the animation inside of Adobe Animate at 12. It's the project file is 12 frames a second, but when you bring it into and bring that PNG sequence into After Effects, we interpret that footage, right? And so just make sure that you don't have 25 frames when you're drawing that first bounce in Adobe Animate. And then that will help you with this section here. The other issue that could be occurring, right? So that's the first thing that could be happening, is that when you're putting these back to back here, you are just accidentally moved one frame over, so that there's like a blank frame in between your bounces. So it looks like that. So just make sure that you're zoomed in on your timeline all the way, right? We want to zoom in here. And then when you're putting these together, you make sure that they're moved over back to back and there's no gaps in between the layers. All right. Let's go back here. The After Effects ball looks good as well. I think that the you've got the good motion blur on there. Maybe with the floor, I would just drop the saturation down a little bit, because the ball and the floor are the exact same colored red. I didn't even think about that until like I'm playing it. Or just drop the tint that red so it's a little bit brighter. So more like coming into like that pink zone. Really nice bounce on there. I think that you can either do one of two things. You can either scale the Adobe Animate ball in the Cinema 4D compositions up a little bit, like, or not the composition itself, but the PNG sequences, scale them up a little so that they're the same size as the After Effects one, or scale this one down a little bit so that they're all about the same size. I actually like the size of the ball here in After Effects, so you could probably scale these PNG sequences up a little, and then, you know, it would match a little bit more, and then make sure you have enough room again in between these 3 layers. As far as the bounce looks pretty good for the Cinema 4D ball. I really don't have any changes there. Other than, you know, it cuts off real quick at the end there, is because the beginning doesn't show, there's the beginning of the bounce is missing, so the keyframes don't line up right. So that's the only reason that it kind of jumps at the end. Other than that, you did a really good start. Not too much work here to change. Good job, Trenton. All right, let's see here. Who's next? I think Janae. Janae's next, who is in the chat. Let's see. No, is this... Who's Heller? I think, did we already... Trenton's... Brenna. Janae, where's... Did we go over yours, Janae? Lycus. Oh, that's why. Do I not have yours in here? Let me download it. We're going to go over this, and I'm downloading that right now. Okay, there we go. Let's go over Brenna's real quick. We were going to end off on hers the last time we were talking about, so. 3 bouncing balls. Perfect. Oh, kind of stops her. It's not your fault. There we go. On screen, almost long enough. I would probably extend that to about a second and a half there, Brenna, just so we get a little bit of extra time to read that. As far as the ball bounces go, all right. We have a little bit, obviously this one disappears here, so we'll address that issue. The hand-drawn ball looks really good, but I don't think you interpreted the footage. So make sure that you're clicking on the footage, right-clicking, going to interpret footage, going to main, and changing that to 24 from 30 to 24 frames a second. And I think that your timing will line up here. But as far as like the squashing and stretching goes, right, other than the timing, the bouncing of the ball looks really, it looks solid. I like that kind of droopy factor that you have to it. I think it looks really cool. And everything pretty much remains about the same volume. I think that the ball gets slightly bigger down at the bottom. So what you could do is maybe just scale, just using the transform tool on these ones right up here, going down, or these ones down at the bottom, whichever frames you want to make the change to. You can just grab it and scale it down a little bit using that transform tool. Then this After Effects ball, obviously we need to update the color palette so everything's really consistent here. The After Effects ball has a nice snappy bounce. That one is hitting the ground really fast and then shooting up really fast. So it's got a very exaggerated curve, which is totally fine. You just need to extend the comp, right? Because right now it cuts off too early, and we want it to extend along the entire video so that it's there alongside all 3 balls at the same time. And then that's all you really need to do with that. I think that the squashing, the stretching look really good. The color just needs to change, and then just extend it on that, and I think you'll be fine. The ball here on the 3D one, I think overall, like, it looks fine. It just stays too long. It just hangs too long at the top of the bounds. And so make sure that those keyframes are pushed together where it's at the top. Make sure that they're, you know, if there's any space in between those, that it's between the top keyframes. If there's any space, make sure it's only like 1 to 2 frames and nothing more than that, because what's happening is it's holding in the air, and the ball would never just stop in the air, right? It's going to go down, and then it's going to come up and do that. And it looks like it's kind of just hovering a little bit. So you might just want to look back at the project, update your curves, maybe just move around your keyframes, but that's all the change that you really have on this. And then the color palette, to make it more consistent. I really like this colored green, though. I think it goes really well with the purple, very pastel. And I think you could do the same thing for these 2 other balls. I think they would look nice. So just update those things and you'll be all set there. All right, let's go to Janae's. Maria, you can probably use some kind of ruler. Janae, I'm so nervous. My animation skills are not that great. Well, we're learning, first of all, so not everyone's perfect, you know, and we'll see what kind of stuff you need to get done. It's okay if you need stuff done. You know, changes. This is your first animation, not a big deal. And then you're going to have a problem with scaling the balls. What you could do, like I said, Maria, is you could have one off to the side that you delete later. That could be like a reference to how big it needs to be. Or what you can do is you can use like some kind of ruler. You can take as like a guide, right? Because the guides are the thing that you can do. You can create a guide layer and kind of keep it about the same size, but you'll be okay. Uh, you'll do fine. Ball bounce. Sweet. Okay. Same thing here. Just Janae, just making sure that this is on for like a second and a half to 2 seconds, so that we have a second. We have more than a second to read it. I guess that makes more sense if I say it like that. And then let's get to the bounce here. Again, the bounce starts at the bottom. So we want it to start at the top. So the same thing with Taven's ball that was going on is just the same thing that's happening here. So if you make those, adjust, like making sure your layers aren't overlapping and kind of missing part of that, then you'll be okay. As far as like the hand animated ball goes, that looks really cool. Let's see how many bounces we have. 1, 2, 3 bounces. The disappear there. We can kind of cut this off. So you just want to make sure that when you're doing this, you just cut off your comp, and you can do it like this. If I go to my main render and I wanted to stop my composition right here, you just make sure that you're selected down here on your timeline. It's highlighted, and you hit N on your keyboard for Nancy or nugget, like chicken nugget. And it trims your work area, and then you can right click here and hit trim comp to work area. Actually, you guys can't see. Let me move my head. Whoa. There we go. Here. All right. This is probably going to help you guys more. Again, bring your playhead to where you want it. Hit N on the keyboard, and that will trim this work area here. And then you just right click and hit trim comp to work area. And then that will just shorten that composition up, and it'll cut all that extra space off at the end here. Or you can add more bounces. You can do whatever you want to do, but definitely don't just allow there to be a bunch of black video at the end. I think that it's very common that happens. As far as, let's look at this. Let's close this real quick. For my Cinema 4D typography, I have letters in my name, G and Y, that either sink into the ground or pop out in a strange way. Is there something that can make it look better? I mentioned last time, because I remember this issue, Logan, you can bring the type to kind of hover in the air. If you want to bring it, like, if you don't want it like just barely touching the thing, I would bring it up like a decent amount so it looks like it's actually hovering. And that's okay. I'm going to answer it right now while it's fresh in my mind. But just like bring it up, kind of center it in. So like if here was your floor, right, you could bring it up here so it's like hovering off the floor. So it looks like it's like meant to be like that. And I think that could be cool, right? Or what you could do is you could separate the letters by hitting C on your name. So you'll select that layer where you had written your name. You'll hit C, which turns that object into an editable object. And it's going to nest all of those objects into a folder, right? So you're going to open those folders. You're going to see all your letters, which are now, think of them as shapes, right? Just shapes. And then you can rotate them maybe down, so like a couple of them are laying down on the ground, like directly on the thing. If you want to do that and get a little bit more creative with it, you could do that. But just have design in mind when you're doing it, and maybe look up some references of things like that online. But you can, I know that's a difficult one to do, and it kind of looks funny. It looks funny when it gets cut off, right? So I would maybe bring it up in there and hover, or do the other option. The other one's going to take a little bit more time to do. So it depends on the timing. Janae, back to this. Your color palette is really nice. Let me shut this off here so that we can just watch it play back. The color palette's really consistent throughout the whole thing. I would maybe just change the color of these little lines here, and that'll be okay. You can just select the fill bucket tool, and on the frames, you'll just go frame by frame and color it. I probably should have taught you guys, you can turn it into a symbol, which will, I don't know if you can do that. Let me look into that for you. See if we can get like a quicker way for you to change that. But I would change it to like this green color because I think that would be cool. So you can go through frame by frame and change it with the fill bucket. Or what we can do is maybe um, convert this into a symbol, and then you can change the color of the symbol and it'll update it in all of your frames. And I think we'll could find a way to do that. I just have to think about it a little bit and be in the program. So we'll do that maybe after class. But as far as like the actual ball, like it looks pretty good. I think here it gets a little big at the stretch and at the squash, right? So when you're changing the volume of it, make sure that it stays about the same size as the ball up here. So I'll give you the choice to either kind of scale these ones down from the stretching to the squashing, or what I might do is just actually increase the size of the ball at the beginning because there's probably less frames of it there. And all you got to do is select the transform tool. So the little arrow with the little box next to it, that's the tool that I'm talking about. Or you can hit Q as in quail on your keyboard and it will select that tool, and you can just go in and resize them, but you just have to make the change on each frame. So go forward and backwards frames and stuff like that. As far as the After Effects ball goes, you guys are really nailing that one. You've got the motion blur on it, which helps sell speed. You've got a really good amount of squash and stretch happening on these. Really good job with the masking. I don't have any problems with this ball at all. As far as the Cinema 4D ball, I think this one looks really nice and clean too. I don't think I would change anything about the animation at all on this. I would just really make changes to this one right here, the Adobe Animate ball. That's really the only one you have to work on. And then I would add like a different, and then obviously the timing of the title, right? We talked about that. And then the only other thing I would do is add a background besides black, right? Maybe make it a different color, purple or green. This is kind of a mauve pink, but maybe a different colored green would look nice, or just kind of going through and seeing what looks best. Even like an off taupe color looks better than just like stark white and stark black, unless you're going kind of grayscale with everything, right? I think that's really the only time a lot of text on screen having that contrast looks really good. But since you've got some really cool colors going on here, almost florally, I would just complement that with a nice background, and I think you'll do fine. But it looks really good. Really, really good start. All right, let's see here. Yeah, the hovering one will sound a little bit more fun. You don't have to actually animate the text slogan. You could just bring it up into the air. Just make sure that you change your target tag on that camera, right? So click the target tag layer in your layer panel, and then move that to look at the center of the actual text. And then just make sure you're extending that backdrop up high so that we're not seeing like the world beyond the backdrop. You want to make sure that when your camera's like moving from right to left or left or right, wherever you're having it go, whatever direction, that you're not seeing the like edges of the backdrop on the sides or in the corners or of the video or anything. All right, whose is this one? Nicholas. Cool. Let's play this. All right, good job on that. Oh, okay. I see we accidentally didn't move this over because I know I did that on my let's stop this here. The title, really good job. Just make sure that your background is all the way under the title as well. So it's the same color, like brownish color here that you have just under here, right? And so all that needs is just extending that background layer, making sure that that background layer is in your main rendering composition and not inside of your not inside of these comps, right? You can leave it inside of these comps, but then you just want to make sure that you also add it into this main comp so that it's just underneath. You'll see the layers literally underneath the text layer right here, which is my red layer. And so just want to make sure that this layer extends out. Let's see here. The other thing you want to do with this, right? Because I made this mistake as well. You can either delete these hand-drawn ones, or you can move them over and re-render it. Or what you can do is what I did here. with the hand-drawn one is I actually, because I have the two bouncing here, right? So I put them and lined them up in the composition in my pre-comp, my hand-drawn pre-comp like normal. And then when I dragged it over here into the 3-ball pre-comp, if I grab that one, the hand-drawn one right here, you can actually see, if I hit the position button, that I had moved the position of it over to the left so that I'm just seeing the hand-drawn ball and not the one that I did with not the additional one that I did. So if you want to kind of keep this one and not this one, right, what you can do is you can draw a mask over this. So similar to the technique here, right? Masking is just, it's like either cutting a hole out of the paper or taking paper and putting it over a different section so we don't see it. You know, it's just kind of, you're masking that object out. And so we would want to mask out this hand-drawn ball right here. So the first thing I'd do is I'd shut these two layers off so that I can just focus on this one right here. And I'd grab this pre-comp, making sure that it's selected. And I'd come up here and I'd grab my rectangle tool. And you just want to make sure that you're in the mask mode right there, which is this one, and not the shape builder tool. And then I'm just going to draw a mask. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, hitting Control minus. And I'm just going to draw a mask like this over this pre-comp here. You're going to see it's going to add a little mask layer on here. And that's just going to cut out the other section. It's not gone. If I invert this mask, it'll show the other one, right? So I can just kind of choose which one is on and off. I'm just choosing to shut this side off, right, with that mask. And so you can do that, and then you can turn these other two on. The mask only affects the layer that it's on, and then you'll have just the two there. So definitely want to do that. So choose either this ball or this ball, and then, you know, make that change. Also scale that up quite a bit because these two balls are about the same size, and this one's quite a bit smaller. So you could just scale that inside of the 3-ball comp or the pre-comp, and then you'll be okay. It'll look a lot more cohesive across. And then same with the color palette. Like a couple other people update that color palette so they're all similar. As far as the animation itself goes of these bouncing balls, they look really good. Like both of them look really solid as far as the hand-drawn ones. And then when you take these and scale them up, they'll probably meet about the same height as these two other balls here. So I would just do that. And it's very similar as far as the animation goes, as far as the balls bouncing up and down. You just want to make sure that you did check to interpret that footage too, because one of them I think might be off. It's either the 3D ball that's a little off, or it's the hand-drawn PNG sequence that's off. So make sure you check to see if you interpreted that. The After Effects ball in the middle, no changes there, except you need to extend that mask layer, that solid layer with the mask on it, out a little bit longer because it cuts off right at the very end here. It just disappears right there, right at the very end of your composition. So you want to make sure you extend that layer inside of that pre-comp, so it's always on screen. And then this ball looks really good too. I think that it doesn't hang in right here at the very end. Where is that where it hangs a little too long? Right at the very end here. I think you have a couple extra keyframes at that same spot, so the ball kind of stops at the top. So just make sure that you either extend these keyframes out or you just cut these keyframes off. You know, you might have to adjust your keyframes and stuff to make sure that that doesn't just stop at the very end. Other than that, very good start on this. A little bit of work to do, but not a ton. All right, Angel. Dude, we're finally getting to yours. I think that you were like bummed that we couldn't get to it, and I definitely wanted to. Or a couple of you guys. I know I wanted to get to yours. Let's see here. All right, play. Nice, good job on that title. Again, just I would make the 2 seconds there. I would What's going on with the, huh, so weird. My timing right down here is kind of off, but black background. I would do maybe a really dark purple of it. Yeah, yeah, it looks really good though. I like these colors. I super dig like this kind of sea foamy green color that a couple of you guys have been using. It looks really cool with these purples. So really good job on that. I think that though it'll help this one pop a little bit more if you just add like a different. You could either do like a darker version of this color right here, or you could do in a darker version of this purple or lighter version of it. Just kind of play around with that and see what background works best for you. As far as I would scale the Cinema 4D one just down a little bit so that it kind of matches these two a little bit more. As far as size goes, and then your spacing will be good because the spacing looks really even between the balls themselves, but the platforms look a little bit too close together, and so I would just scale the Cinema 4D one down. Let's look at the animations. First of all, let me get to this one right here and then shut this so it should loop. All right. Hand-drawn one looks really nice. Real snappy, really good job keeping the volume of the ball. I would just add, just those either like those little lines around it or like a highlight on the ball. And I think it would give it a really cool look to it. In fact, the highlight might be a little bit hard to see because the white, but I think that it would still be cool. You could still do it and it would add something to it. The After Effects ball looks really nice as well. Like, you've got the motion blur happening. You've got the bouncing, the squashing, the stretching. The masking here looks good. The one thing that I would do is layer order matters. So you're going to want to bring the layer of the ball on your timeline above the layer of your solid so that it looks like this. Let's go to the After Effects ball one. So if this is above this, what'll happen here, because watch when this hits the ground, it gives like this transparency because this the solid that we put the mask on, we created like that feathering effect, so it gives that transparency around the edges there, and that transparency will show anything below it, right? So you just want to take this solid and drop it below the ball layer, and then you'll be good to go, and then that ball will be solid the entire time, because just right here you can see it slip behind there. So that's the only thing I would change on this. And then the Cinema 4D bounce, let's check that out. Cinema 4D bounce looks really nice. Real squashy, real like it squashes and stretches real good. Timing is real good. Obviously your frames and your curves are in the right place, so I wouldn't make any changes to that other than scaling that down. You did a really good job on this. Really, really good start. Yeah, you're having technical difficulties in what specifically, Efren? Yeah, real good job on this, Angel. Great start on that. All right, let's see here. Ronald, last name, Ronald. Gavin. All right. Did I see Jasmine's? Oh, Jasmine was the Jasmine will need you to turn in the MP4 version and not the After Effects one. Let's see here. Gavin, sweet. Cool color right away. Let's close these out so I don't have to see them. Oop, and then play. Nice. On screen, nice and long. Color palette right off the bat. Into it. You could even probably make this a little whiter if you wanted to. If you can try to do that. Let's see. Let's fill this up real quick. Real cool color palette, though. Let me shorten this right here. We can watch the hand-drawn animals. Okay, yeah. No problem. We can look at it. And we'll see whatever kind of... just let me know in the chat when it's up there. You still got an hour and a half, so I think you'll be good. All right, the hand-drawn animated ball looks really solid. Really good job getting the frames right. You went further with the like adding extra lines for the motion lines, which I think is really cool. I think though to separate that from the um actually, this kind of gave me an idea right now is that you can do one of two things here. You can either change the color of the lines, maybe make them a lighter, like either the white, like you have here, or a lighter pink. I think that would look really cool. Or what you could do is you could use these to kind of draw globs around them, like they're attaching to the ball. So almost like the ball is kind of slimy. I don't know why, like for some reason, when it's all the same color, it just kind of, my brain wants to fill that in, right? And give it kind of the sludgy look to it, which I also think would be really cool. Um, you would just also have to think about how like it would fall apart or like melt back into the ball itself, but it could be a really cool effect if you pull it off. And if not, if you ain't got the time to do it and it took you a long time in the first place, color these in like a different color and I think you'll be fine. But other than that, the hand drawn one looks really good. Really good job on that. The I think there's like either an extra frame here, right? So that one and then this last frame here. Let's jump to this last one. There is like something happening with the alignment here, so it's skipping a frame at the very end. So you want to make sure that your like main render layer is like pulled in a little bit and not being cut off here, because that's what's creating not seamless loop, because right about here it jumps right at the very end of the playhead. Right there, it does a little jump. So just make sure you move over that pre-comp layer. But as far as like the bouncing of the ball goes, like it's really good. You've got a good velocity coming down and like slowing down, coming up, and then the squashing and stretching. Same with everyone else has been doing really good on that. And then also adding that motion blur in there. Floor looks good as well. And then the Cinema 4D ball, more dramatic, like curves that you have going on, because that one goes down to the ground really fast as well. And let me just see. Yeah, it just hits the ground really fast. I think you just need to add some stretching into here, right? Because you don't have any stretch happening. You just have squashing on this Cinema 4D ball. So make sure that when it's going down to the, when it's, well, here, let's see here. When it's going down to the ground, it stretches just like the other two. And then when it's coming back up, it's going to stretch up. So make sure you add those stretch keyframes in on this. But other than that, I think this is a very good start. All right, you guys, we're almost through these. Koji. Yeah, this is Koji's cool. Let's play. Black background. I would do something else, like I said before. Also, color palette, make it consistent, so that they're all the same. You can keep this red and maybe add to these ones, but yeah, just consistency over it. Also, we're missing a title, so you want to add that title in for the first few seconds here. Just has to say bouncing ball. Let's play though. Pretty solid start on here. Let's see what happens when it gets towards the end. 1, 2, 1. How many bounces do we have? Let's see. 1. We only have one full bounce. That's a problem here. So the video's too short. Very, very short. It's only one solid bounce. So you have to make sure you're adding all the bounces in there, because I think it said 3 or 4 bounces. I think I said 4 total bounces, 3 total bounces. Let's see. What do I have? 4 times. So you want to make sure that the ball is bouncing 4 times, because right now it's just one solid bounce, right? So you have to duplicate the composition in the main one, add the title. So if you watch the last lesson of the live stream that we did on this, you'll be fine. You'll figure that out. As far as the hand-drawn bouncing ball goes, it looks really good. Like it almost holds the same volume from halfway down to here, but then when it gets up here, it gets a little small. So you're going to want to increase the size, um, either at the top or decrease the size from like halfway down to the squash, and then so on and so forth. And then I would also add like either those motion lines, or you can add a highlight to the ball. And I think that it would add something there, but I really like the way that you have it squashing out into like this jelly bean form and coming back up. It gives it like obviously a more dramatic looking squash. The other thing that I would, as far as the Adobe After Effects ball, you're going to want to add right now the accelerates. It's accelerating to the ground and it's decelerating on the way back up, but you don't have any motion blur on here and you don't have any squash and stretch on here. So you're going to want to rewatch those sections of the lesson and add the squash and stretch and just turn the blur on onto that layer. And then obviously update the colors, and I think you'll be good here to go. Also make sure that your first position and your last position keyframe values match, that they're exactly the same, because I think that it's causing a slight hitch in the animation here when it goes to play over, because they're not at the same spot. As far as the ball here goes, right, the 3D ball, I think that it looks like it's accelerating down to the ground and decelerating on the way back up. But the problem is that the ball never fully touches the platform, right? So it's going to go down here and it bounces right here and it doesn't actually hit the platform. So you're going to want to bring that position keyframe all the way down onto that platform. Make sure that's where the squashing happens. And then you also have to add the stretch into that part, into that like ball bounce as well. Because what's happening is the ball's not fully reaching the platform, so it's squashing in the air, and you want that squash to happen right when it makes impact, right? Because that's when it would squash. So I would watch this lesson over again and maybe just update your keyframes, update some values on those, and then I think you'll be pretty much to the place that you'll need to be. You also need to just update the color palette. But good start on this. All right, Taven. Did we go over Taven's? I think we did. No. This is cool though. Cool color palette. The blue and the brown. Looking nice. Brian, are you in the chat? Did we go over yours? I don't think we did. I'm downloading it and adding it in. I'm going to go over yours real quick. Yeah. Let's go over this one. All right, Brian's first. Cool. Good job on the ball bounce there on the text. Let's cut this right here. This already looks cool. I'm into it. I'm into the different floor like masking that you had. You had fun with the mask, which is cool. Color palette consistent all the way through. It makes me want some McDonald's French fries, to be honest. So it's like an interesting color palette, but I'm into it. The only other thing I would do here, as far as like right off the bat, is I would probably change the background. Obviously, that's what I would do. So maybe making it like a more like a darker version of this yellow, or lighter version of it, or even like a darker, deeper red color. I think it would look really cool. I think it would add to the video instead of just like a blank black background. Let's play. We'll start with the Adobe Animate Ball. Cool. Yeah, really cool job where you have it like kind of almost like, yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember those toys that used to like, used to get them. They would be full of water and you could squeeze it. It was like, I'm going to say a sea cucumber, but like it would like, you could squeeze it over and it would like, if you dropped it on the floor, it would wiggle like that because it was full of water. And that's kind of what I see happening here. And I like it because it's like creating these little splashes that happen. And it's pretty unique looking. I haven't seen anyone do that yet. Yeah, almost like you're throwing a water balloon to the ground and it doesn't break on the ground. And I think that's really neat kind of idea here. That's what this whole thing is about, right? It gives this um, making the shapes different, deforming it differently, changing the animation a little bit, can give you a whole different concept on what that item is, right? Because this could have been like a solid ball like everyone else's. Right now, this is giving me a water balloon, which is cool. Um, let's play this a little bit further. Let's look at the only thing I guess I would do with this one actually is increase the size. So it's about the same size as the other two. Um, just maybe a little bit more, maybe by like 25%, I would just increase this one. So it's close to these. And you might have to adjust where like the height of the frames and stuff, but I think that it'll be an easy change and a quick change to do. Um, and then the After Effects ball. First of all, really cool, like I said on there. The squashing and stretching looks really nice on this, and same with like the acceleration down and the deceleration up, and then also that motion blur. Actually, for some reason, I was like, oh, there's no motion blur on here. As it gets down to the bottom, but there's absolutely motion blur on here. So you did a really good job on that. I wouldn't change anything on this one. Maybe if I were being picky, I'd maybe feather this out slightly more, but I'm not gonna mark you or knock you down for that. As far as the Cinema 4D ball goes, let's watch that. Yeah, it looks really good. It's snappy. Everything begins and ends on the same frame, so it's a seamless loop. Um, yeah, it looks really good. I don't think I really have any changes at all for this one. Stellar job on these. Really good job. Really good start on this, Brian. All right, now we'll jump to Taven. Oh, oh, oh. Let's see here. All right, let's play. Taven, you're in the chat, right? Are you in the chat today? I thought I saw you in here. Maybe you didn't. Let's play. Neat, yeah. Good job on this title. Let me go over here. Good job on the color palette too. It looks really cool. I'm digging this color blue and this green with it. Just a really nice smooth color palette you have going on here. I believe. Yeah, I don't know. Looks cool. This is neat. So you went with like an outline ball instead of like a filled in one, which is really cool. I think that you could scale that up a little bit and then also maybe add some motion lines or a highlight to this. And I think that it would look really good. But other than that, you have a really good squashing and stretching. The animation on its own is solid. I wouldn't change anything to the animation. Just the size of it so that it matches this. And then, the only change to the animation would be adding like lines or like a highlight to it. And I think it would look nice. The After Effects ball looks really, really good. Very smooth looking shape to the floor. And, squashing and stretching. Great job on the acceleration and deceleration on the way down. And then same with this one. Really punchy looking ball here in 3D. And I wouldn't change anything about the 3D one, except maybe you could scale this one down a little bit to get a little bit of room in between here. But really, these look very, very evenly spaced. So you could scale this one down a little, scale this one up a bit, and I think you'd be good to go here. Looks really nice, though. Really, really good start. All right. Taylor? Do I have a Taylor? Logan. Ah, it's Logan. What's up? I was like, Taylor. Who's Taylor? It's Logan. Duh. Sometimes I forget it does laugh names on some of these and some it doesn't, so. All right. Black background. I would just change it. Logan Taylor's Ball Bounce Presentations. I don't think you need to have, you can keep it for this, but moving forward, you don't want to have too much text on screen that we're stuck reading, especially because this right here is a little close together. So you'd want to separate these out a little bit. Like if you're going to do this, I would just take the Animate, After Effects, and Cinema 4D out. Or yeah, no, I would do that because it's kind of obvious when you get to the bouncing balls what each one is, right? Cinema 4D's 3D. I guess what you could do is you could put these underneath each bouncing ball if you wanted to have like a little title under them. But it's not necessary, right? I think it's just takes away from the actual animation that's happening. So I would either remove this, I would just remove that and then just center all of this together. But as far as the animation, it's on long enough. It's on long enough for me to read. I will say that. Good job with that because usually students don't have um, text on long enough to read. So the cons of having two first names. Yeah, no kidding. I'm sorry. I'll remember this for now on though. Um, Solid, consistent color palette throughout all three of the bouncy balls. Yeah, just add a background on here and I think you'll be good. Cool. I'm excited to see the stripes happening here. Oh, dude, you did that. Nice, Logan. Super cool. Really neat on that. Let's break that down because you did that. You were ahead of me right here. You kind of gave that globby look to these lines, which sells that this ball is like, dude, it reminds me of Spider-Man, for some reason, just like the colors. And then the, in fact, I would maybe change the green in here because the green, I don't think necessarily 100% works with this. I would maybe change this to like a variation of blue or red. So we're staying along the same two colors, but just like a little bit of a difference and then doing that for the background too. But this looks super sick, dude. Really cool job on that. Really cool job on having it do that on the way down. It's going to hit the ground. These impact lines, really neat, super quick, right? They don't need to be on there for very long, but you have them, you're animating on twos here, right? Which means if you're animating on ones, which means you draw every single frame, right? If you're animating on twos, you draw one frame, hold it for an extra frame, and then you draw the next one, hold that one, draw it, hold. Animating on threes, you hold that same image, you draw an image and hold it for 3 frames, right? So that's the difference of animating on ones, twos, and threes. And when you get to fours, it starts to look really choppy and doesn't necessarily, it depends. But animating on the twos here, it's beneficial for you, especially down here at the bottom, because it kind of gives this idea of that it's like a cloud of dust or smoke or something, and then it takes a second to dissipate out. So a lot of forethought there when putting the work into this one. That's a really good job. Very, very, very good job on executing like this idea of doing that. Sorry guys, that flashing is my GPU. I have to update it. But yeah, no, I think that's solid work. Really cool there. And then as far as like the ball maintaining the same size, it really does throughout the whole thing. Really, really good job. This one here looks really good too. Let's save the project and see if that mitigates that flashing of the GPU issue. No, it's going to still do it. I apologize for that. Hopefully none of you guys have sensitivities to like seizures or anything. Please just don't look at it if that's the case. There's a couple issues with the After Effects ball, right? So when I play this, it looks really good as far as like the acceleration on the way down, deceleration on the way up. Your curves are killer, especially because they all match up almost perfectly, which isn't easy to do. But the ball doesn't have motion blur, number one. Number two, the ball gets a little bit too big right here on the stretch, right? So you need to, during the stretch when it's elongating, make sure you're bringing in those sides, right? So make sure your values, whatever you're adding to one, you're subtracting to the other. as far as like the X and the Y coordinates here. So the volume of the ball changes on the stretch and the squash and the stretch. And then also you don't, you have squashing happening there, but no stretching happening on the way back up. It just goes from squash to back up in the air and it's still squashing back up here. And you don't want that, right? You want the stretch going down, hitting the ground, and then the stretch coming back up. So you're going to just have to add the stretch back on there, add the motion blur, and then I'd maybe just increase the size of your mask here so the floor looks just a little bit bigger. But good start on that one. And then the Cinema 4D ball. Let's see here. That one looks pretty solid. The squashing, let's see. Stretch, squash, same thing here, right? So you have to add the stretching on the way back up because what's happening is it's stretching, hitting, and then it's staying squashed. You're going to need to do it on all three. So you got to add the stretch on the way back up. Because we're just forgetting that section of it. So kind of think equal, right? If we were to cut this bounce in half and watch it go on the way down and watch it come back on the way up, it should be the same thing happening. On the way down, it's going to essentially like reverse on the way back up, right? So it's got to stretch on the way back up. So just adding the stretch onto all of these after the ball makes impact and comes back up, you'll be good to go. But really, really good start on this. Really good start on that, Logan. All right, here we have Efren. Efren's in the chat. What's up, dude? Good color. I like this kind of taupe color, khaki color. Ball bounce. Cool. Good solid color palette. Let's move this right here so we can watch the animation. Good job on the title. Yeah, of course. Yeah, not a problem, Logan. Good start on this. You guys are really doing a great job. I've seen some rough work and stuff, and like I said, everyone's at different levels of their animation game, right? But you guys are generally all within the same you're producing and outputting very similar work, which isn't very usual for an entire class, especially a class this big. So you guys are doing a great job. Let's watch this hand-drawn one. Really good job on the hand-drawn ball there, Efren. Really good job at keeping that volume the same. The hand-drawn lines, like the speed lines behind it, are really good. And then this part too. Again, you guys just really good with these, like, kind of what I like to call, like, these are effects, right? Like element effects. I know you guys know what they're called, but these elements, really good job on hand drawing these. So yeah, frame by frame on that. You could even maybe add another one in here where the lines are dissipating out a little bit more. But, it's up to you. It happens so fast, it's not even that big of a deal. Other than that, I wouldn't make any changes to this. It looks really good as far as animation goes. The ball... Let's see what's going on here, okay? Because we have some extra love in this stretch. Efren, did you add anything to this? I'm curious. Like, because what I'm seeing, your anchor point's in the appropriate place. Right? Yeah, the anchor point's at the bottom of the ball. If I play it, you've got the, you know what it is? The bounce. Okay, so thanks for the compliments and also the cover video with the fun and is up on the Discord if you want to see it. Sweet. Yeah, we'll look at that when we're done with the other of these. We'll check that out. This ball, the Adobe Animate ball. What's happening is that the curves on the bounce, not on the squash and stretch, but on the bounce itself, aren't actually accelerating going down and decelerating on the way back up. They're just like a traditional easing. So you're going to have to go in there and make sure that you get those like really in the value graph, you're going to want to make sure that you get those nice steep arcs going up. So they should look like this. If I go select here, hit position, click this, grab these, right? You want to get that nice steep arc happening. The ball's going to squish right between here on the ground, and then it's going to come back up and also have that, that steep declines, steep inclines and declines, right? Will give that acceleration on the way down, right? Accelerating down, decelerating back up. And so on this one, if I watch it close, right? Because I was like, what is happening? It's interesting looking because it's almost a little hard to see because of the shape of the ball is a little bit different, especially right here. Where is that happening? It's almost like it's kind of going in and out, almost like a drooping look. And then it almost has like a little tail here as well. I can't edit the curves on this project for some reason. I can't get the Bezier lines to appear. Okay, here is the problem with this is the solution to that problem. So if I go into this After Effects composition, and you can't see the Bezier handles here, right? The reason is probably because you're not separated the dimensions. So you want to make sure that your dimensions are separated here and not all one position where it's like X and Y on the same line. So you could do that in an easy way here. You remember? Yeah, I do remember now. So the way you can change that, right? Even if you're in your graph, well, you can either right click there, but if you click on the position here, down at the bottom of your screen right there is the separate dimensions key. If you just click that, it'll separate the Y and the X, and then it will show on here a straight red line on your graph, right? So let's get out of here. On your graph, all of a sudden, if you separate those dimensions, dang it, I don't know why I did it. Anyways, you'll have like a straight line, a red one for the X. Just go to the beginning of your timeline and just uncheck that box. Like turn off that keyframe. And then the X will be gone and then the Y will be there. Do you want me to return it in? No. You what you'll do, so with this feedback, you guys, that I'm giving you is you're going to make the changes. We're going to have a revision round at some point. So you're going to note this. If you want to make the changes now, it will make it much easier, right? Because then you don't have to make the changes later in the semester in a few weeks. But if you make the changes, you can save it, and then when we have the revision run, you'll just submit that revised version into that assignment when we have it in the future, and then it'll be ready. So you take the feedback that I give you, you implement it into your project, and then you turn it in when we have a revision round. That's what it's going to be like throughout the semester. So all this stuff I'm telling you guys to change, you're not going to be able to resubmit the assignment. You've got everything here. You're not going to get is going to be 100% grade. Most of you guys, I'm pretty lenient when it comes to grading. If you're missing stuff, if there's like something obviously really crazy off, then I will let you guys know and you might have a drop in the grade. But as far as, let me close this. The rest of it goes, you won't have to worry about that. If you get a bad grade on something and you want a better grade on something, you could talk to me about resubmitting it with changes, and I'll update the grade for you depending on what the scenario is. But you can just make these changes for the next one that we have. Might be good to just do it as soon as possible so it's fresh in your mind, though, so you don't have to come back and rewatch this stuff. And then as far as let's look at the 3D ball. The 3D ball looks solid. Stretch. Yeah, you did a really good job on all of these. Yeah, just update that those curves on that one and you'll be all set to go. Really, really good job here. Good job on this, Evan. All right. James. Let's look at James. Cool. Good start here, James. There's a few things that we're gonna have to change here. But at least you've got everything pretty much blocked out, right? So this is good. It's not on screen long enough. I would probably, because it fades on. Well, it fades on fully at the 1 second mark. It's on screen for a second and then it goes off. So the timing's fine with this, right? Let's shut this. Well, the only thing that I would do is that you want to make this smaller, right? Because right now it's going outside of and beyond these boxes. So we just want to come in there and you can just change the size of your text and then recenter it because it's not centered either. Make sure that you have your title action safe on, right? When you're doing any kind of text, especially, or when you're making sure things are lined up, turn that title action safe on. Just get used to working with it because it's going to save your life when it comes to like work later on down the road. And then center this, make it smaller, and then you'll be good to go on that. And then as far as, let's get to the bouncing. Need a background through all of this. The white background just doesn't, it just doesn't, we need like a consistent color palette, right? So just come in here and enter the color palette. As far as the hand-drawn ball, let's address the, like the obvious issue here is that we still have the guide drawn in here. So what you can do is you just go into the Adobe Animate file. Let me show you guys how to do this again because this has been an issue. I've seen this same thing comes up in the past. Everyone usually has very similar things to fix. And so that's been one of them. Let's go into the hand-drawn ball. Let's open this up. And what's time like? 7:35. We got an hour. Perfect. I think we're doing good right now. We'll introduce the next project and we'll go over the typography one for you, Efren. We'll do that first and then we'll go over the rest. Okay, so right here you're not seeing the guide, but I still have the guideline in here, right? I still have it on screen. What you have to do, but if you look at, well, first of all, if you look at the layer itself, it looks different, right? It says guide. I changed the layer name to guide, but when there's a guide or ruler, right, it gives you like this little tiny T-square ruler here on the layer that shows that that's actually a guide layer, which means that it will not show up in your render. Okay. Guide layers don't show up in the render. You have to, or you, even if you shut it off. So even if you shut the visibility off here, like if I shut it off in my scene here, but this is not a guide layer, then if I turn this on right here and I just have this visibly shut off, but then I go to export this. Let's export this image. It's still going to show that guideline likely. Oh, does it not? No way. Let's see. Not a GIF. Let's go to a JPEG. Let us see. Will it? Let's zoom out here. 50%. I guess it doesn't. At least it doesn't when it comes to rendering out a JPEG. You will probably have that issue rendering it out as a PNG. And so what you need to do is just right click the layer and just hit guide right there. And then that turns that into a guide layer so you can turn it on and off. You can leave it on and you can render out your video and it won't be there. So just go in there into Adobe Animate and change that right there and then you'll be okay. In fact, since I'm already in here, right, let's talk about what a symbol is and how to change that, right? So a symbol is essentially like taking, let's shut this guide layer off real quick. Let's shut off this. Actually, we can make it the hand-drawn ball. Let's shut this one off right here. So I have this object here. I don't want to move it, right? Because if I move it, then it is going to change my animation. But let's say like it doesn't match my color palette and I wanted to change it, but I want to make it a graphic. So maybe I could add this into another animation or put it into a different scene that I have later on, or maybe I want to move it to a different location because I maybe I have a bunch of bouncing balls in my scene and I want to add it to all of them. But instead of hand drawing it over and over and over again, what you can do is I think you select all of these layers. Let me hold down shift and select these, right? And I'm going to right click on this and convert layers to symbol. And then we're going to change. You can also hit F8 on your keyboard and it'll do that. We're going to change this to motion lines. I'm going to change the name. And then I'm going to change this from a movie clip to a graphic. Okay. I'm going to hit OK. Now, where did that go? We don't know. When I play this, it's still there, right? It's since converted this all into one keyframe. If I double click into this, what's going to happen is it's going to, oh, cancel that. If I double click onto this, all of a sudden my timeline down here changes. So it's like going, oh, look at that real quick. Render that sucker out and have it ready for the revision round. But all of a sudden my timeline changes and it's like going into a pre-composition, right? And you can tell up here at the top. So here's initially my main scene, but now all of a sudden I am in my symbol, right? This little icon here is an icon for a symbol. And I'm in my motion line symbol now. So I have the option to edit this, right? Not the ball, but the actual hand-drawn motion lines. And so now, because it's a symbol, if I just come into here, is this the ball? Oh, I did the ball. Let me go back here. First of all, let's rename it. So I made a mistake, which is good for you guys, because now you guys can learn how to make these changes. If you come up to this section here where all your tabs are and stuff, the section that says library is the one that you're going to want to click on. And it will show like a list of any of your symbols that you've created in here, right? You can make folders if you come down to the bottom. In fact, let me shut off my camera or move my camera to the edge over here. So we'll do this again. I was in the properties tab right here. I just want to come up to the library, which is right here. I'll click on that. If you don't see that tab right there, you can just come to window and select library and it will open it up as like a floating essentially property box where you can click and drag and move it into to lock it onto, like dock it onto the toolbar over here. But I want to change this because I accidentally named this to motion lines when it's at the ball. So I'm just going to double click right here and I'm just going to say hand drawn ball. Right. And so now it changes the name of that. I can click on this and let's say I wanted to change the color. So I can just click this ball and let's change it to that blue color. Does it do it for all of them? It does not. So the first thing I think I need to do is select all of these. Click the first one, shift click on all of the keyframes down here, and then let's try that and see if that works. Okay, it doesn't. So I'll have to manually color them all. What is it that I do? I don't think it has to do with... Let's undo this. Let's undo that. Undo that. Control Z is undo, like all programs. Undo, 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 undo. Okay. We want all brown. All right. Let us find out how to change. How to change. How to get it to work. Okay, double click that. Hand drawn, ball. Rename, delete, duplicate, play, export, save as properties. No. Maybe edit? I'm getting used to working with symbols recently. But this is a great thing to do because you can save an animation within the symbol, which is what we're doing right now. So if I wanted to duplicate this and drag it in, I could do that. Let's change the fill color right here. Okay, so I went from, I'm still in this hand-drawn ball graphic or symbol. I'm going to come up here and under my properties, you can hit object And the fill color, let's change the fill color here to like an orange color. Will it change it for all of them? It does not. So let's select them. Can I select all of them? Select all frames. Let's try changing them all. Object to that orange color. Okay, so we have to, ooh, this would kind of be neat to like change it into a different color. You could do that. But you'll just have to go through and click object, fill to this color, all right? And do the same here. Or you can grab the paint bucket tool right over here and just click. And then period key to move forward, period key, click, period key. So you just fill it in like this, right? You just have to make sure your color's selected. Do this, but we'll show the power of the symbol here in a second. Click here, click here, click here. I think if I would have created the symbol first and then did the animation, oh, we don't want to add an extra frame. But if I would have created the symbol first, then added the animation, all the colors would be the same. You wouldn't have this issue, right? So I just had to come in here and recolor it. There might be an easier way, which I'll look for later, but we'll see. So to get out of this, we're just going to click the little arrow up here in the upper left corner to get back to our scene. And so now when I play it, it all will have the, which enter is to play or return, right? It's got the same, now it's all, let's loop this back and forth. That's not what I meant to do. Grab that and drag that over. Again, looping is this little tool right there. Click that and then you just drag the bounds. And then when I play it by hitting return or enter, it'll just loop this animation, right? But the cool thing is that now that symbol contains the animation. So I can just grab the symbol again. If I go to my library, grab this hand drum ball, drag it in here, and then I hit play again. I have 2 fully animated bouncing balls for the price of 1, right? And so what if I want to offset this animation? First of all, the one thing that I did here is I grabbed this graphic and dragged it onto the same layer as the original ball. So if you don't want it on the same layer, and you might want to offset your ball bounces, right? I'm going to hit back on that and take that graphic off. I'm going to create a new layer here, and then I'm going to make sure I'm selected on that layer, and then I'm going to drag this symbol into my scene, and it will add it onto this new layer here. And so now the ball is going to bounce when I play it, but if I want to take these and just kind of drag them and offset them, I can absolutely do that as well. And I would just grab this and extend the end here. And you can always, it'll cut it off right here because I'm offsetting it and these keyframes aren't the same. I would have to like, let's see, copy keyframe, come here, paste the keyframe. Where is it? Cut, paste, right there. So it's the same. And then I would have to do the same to these end ones right here, right? Or I would just have to extend this one out. But then all of a sudden my timing gets off and all that kind of stuff, right? So, but if I wanted to just kind of, we can, offset these ball bounces, right? You can do that by changing the offsetting the keyframes inside of Animate, but essentially grabbing all of the frames and then just shuffling them down your timeline. So really powerful tool using graphics inside of Adobe Animate. And like what I was saying before, if I were to have created that graphic with that specific color in the first place, right? So actually, let me take that off. Let's delete this. Let's select this graphic and delete it. And maybe we just delete all of the frames on here as well. So I'm just going to highlight them all and hit X on the thing, or just right click, delete, right click, remove frames, right? Okay, there we go. We have blank frames there. Nothing. There's not even blank keyframes. It's just blank timeline. But let's say on here, right, I create the ball and change it to A film, not a stroke. Let's change, or maybe it just has, there you go. Grab the object. Why are you doing this to me? Make sure that my object is selected. Transform object. Properties. Go to properties. Color effect. Not that. Go to object. Stroke. We don't want a stroke. So I can shut that off there. Go back to, just shut it off completely. So let's just grab our shape again. Draw it now. We got that solid ball. And I take this and I hit F8, right? Or I can right click and where's it? Convert to symbol right here. Or you can hit F8. And then you name this ball. Okay. Go to your library over here and you have this ball. You can add this ball in, but when I play, it doesn't have an animation, right? So now, though, I can take this and animate this graphic down here and have a little bit more individual control if I don't want the animation saved, right? So this is really good idea if you have like a lot of working parts to something like a character, right? Maybe you have different turns of a character, different facial expressions, saving them as a symbol so you can swap them out on your timeline when you need them is very, very powerful to do. So you don't have to keep redrawing things over and over again. So learning Adobe Animate like this, these little techniques will help you guys out in the long run with different things. But very, very neat their stuff. Maybe we'll try and start incorporating more Adobe Animate into there. But if you just want to shut these guides off, then you'll be all set to go. As far as the animation of this, James goes, let's go ahead and play this. The animation looks good. It's just a little fast. So all you need to do is, let's see here. First of all, we've got to have, no one's off as far as like frame rate grows, which is surprising. But you didn't interpret the footage here either. So we need to interpret that footage so it's the same timing, because right now it's still at I think it's at 30 frames a second. It's too fast. And then, but you have the acceleration going down and deceleration coming back up a little bit more. But as far as the Adobe After Effects ball goes, we have to add the floor on. And it's not accelerating on the way down and decelerating on the way back up. So you're going to have to adjust your curves on that, right? You've got the animation blocked out so far. It's just going in there and getting more details on that bounce. And that's when you're going to want to add the squash and stretch afterwards and then that blur to it, right? So once you do that kind of stuff, I think that this one will be ready to go. And then obviously you want to change the color palette of this. And then finally on the Cinema 4D ball as well, right now it's just kind of bouncing, but there is no acceleration and deceleration, so you have to add that by adjusting the curves. You want the ball to hit the platform, so you need to bring that ball down further. When it's that keyframe where the ball is down, you need to bring it down further and adjust that. Make sure you're recording that change when you're inside of your timeline here. Then also you need to render this without the wireframe on it. I've talked about how to do this a couple times. I'll continue to talk about this. But if you just go back and watch this section, I'll talk about how to remove this as well to render it. And there's also a note in the new template that tells you how to shut the wireframe off as well. And then finally, you'll want to add the squashing and stretching to this. So a little bit more work here. You've got the blocking out of everything kind of done. The furthest along you are is with this Adobe Animate ball. You just need more work on these. And then what happens over here is your compositions cut off at the end. So you either want to extend those all the way to the end of the your timeline here, or you want to cut them off before they all end over here, right? So make sure a few things here. Make sure interpreting footage of both of these PNG sequences. Remove this here. Change the color palette. Add a background. We're going to update the text right there as well. And then the few other things that I said. But other than that, very, very good start. Really good start. All right. And then we have, let's see. Evan? Evan, are you in the chat right now? Yeah, Evan's in the chat. Oh, what's going on? All right, let's see. Oh, here's the problem. It's an MP3. So you rendered it out as an MP3 and not an MP4. Is this something you can re-render out real quick? Evan, if you're in the chat. I know you're here, Sonic. Yeah. Do you have this? If it's done, you want to render it out and let me know. You just have to re-render it as an MP4. Because right now it's just a sound file, so there's no sound. If you can do that, let me know in the chat if you do, and then we'll go over it real quick. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, do that. Throw it in the Discord, and I'll give you feedback on that one. Let me just make sure. I don't think I missed anyone. There's 16 here. How many items do I have here? 17. Okay, yeah. So I got it right. The extra one came from Brian's, which we went through. Yeah, sweet. Cool. Sick. Cool. Sweet. Thank you, Evan. I'll leave this up so we can do that. Let us look at Efren's type project. Here's my typography video with some fun at the end. The actual video would be turning. Sweet. Let's click this link. Let's look at YouTube. Nice. First of all, let's pause that so we can rewind it and get the full effect. FYI, you guys, this is cool. I am super happy to see you guys throwing stuff into YouTube and putting it online. That's a big, putting things onto social media. I'm not a social media person, okay? It's not good for my mental health necessarily, right? I love to doom scroll on Instagram, but I don't have TikTok. I have YouTube really mainly to teach and to watch stuff. But I do post things to Instagram. I also post things to, update things on my website. But getting used to posting things online is really important, right? Because it gets us over that fear of like sharing our work. And that's the only way we get better is sharing it, hearing feedback, constructive feedback. Let me just say that. And then, maybe implementing that feedback is a really big part of the motion graphics community. And so a couple of you guys have posted things onto YouTube, which is great. Super awesome. If you guys feel like you want to post them, even if it's not perfect, posting them in Discord for the class to see is awesome. Like, it's going to give you guys ideas, right? Other people ideas. So I'm super into that. Yeah, it's addicting, dude. I just get on those shorts and they make it so much harder after they created like video shorts, because who doesn't want to watch a 5-second video? I mean, it's like a hit of dopamine. Your brain just goes freaking crazy for that stuff. It's like, suck it all up, right? We all love it. It's so much fun, but it's also like really bad. So I try and keep it to a minimum. I don't check my social media at all during the day. I save my social media till like really like the last 15 minutes I'm in bed, but sometimes keeps me up. All right, let's watch this, Stefan. Play. Cool. Good job on that. Good, better, best. Nice. Really killer job on the easing on these. Great job lining it all up here. Good choice of font. Great job with the hierarchy. All centered. You've nailed this scene, dude. I don't think there's any changes I would do. That specifically that easing that you have in there with that motion blur, it just looks so smooth. And also, let me just say, the choice of the white font, white type with the red background, very legible, easy to read, looks good. Nice. Cool. Let me rewatch that section real quick. I'm going to make sure that you put the appropriate ones on this. Faded per word per letter. Looks good. The only thing I would do to this, Efren, is extend the scene out just a little bit. It's a little fast right at the end. Yeah, so just extend it by like another half a second to a second, so we have a little bit of time to read that stuff, and then you'll be good. But as far as like the animation of the word fade, it looks really nice. You have the offsetting of the frames happening here. Let me see how it goes. Yeah, that looks good. Spacing's decent here. It looks pretty good. You can move the E over slightly a little bit more to the right, but just by a hair. And even then, it's not a big deal. And really good job not like super bring this over too far, so that we are getting part of it cut off, but not all of it. That looks nice. Yeah, cool. Let's see real quick. This section, your name kind of fades a little bit. So I don't know if that's a transparency issue. But check there. And I don't know if it's a YouTube thing either. It could be a YouTube thing. Um, when you send this in, I'll double check it. But this looks cool though. The color, the like negative color that it creates is really neat. This is not my favorite. Obviously, it's not super creative, right? This contact information. So um it is what it is. Like, I mean, that's what had the time to show you guys. So maybe I'll show you something a little bit different here in a bit. But it looks good so far. And I would just maybe extend the time on that. Let's see here. Play. Nice smooth easing that you have on that. And then great job not crossing the text, right? Because that's a big thing a lot of students do. Yeah, just leave that on screen a little longer. That looks really nice. Good job on that. Sick. That is cool. Nice. You did a great job. Like, really smart idea. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, something else is happening? Neat. What else is going to happen here? You guys this is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Like, it was color. Okay, it was a purposeful thing to switch a color. The colors just kind of, hold on. Let me readjust my train of thought. You guys suck and are awesome all at the same time. That's hilarious. Um, just whatever. I'm into it. I loved it. I think it was really funny. Stuff like that just kills me. I was like, what is happening here? I was like, okay, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, Walter shows up. If I have nightmares of this, everyone gets an F for the rest of the semester. I'm just kidding. I'm super into jokes, and I love it when you guys have a sense of humor and have fun. It was cool effects, though. Let's look at real quick. Let's jump back into this one. Let me give you a little feedback on this. So if you're going to change the color, make sure the color is a little bit more drastic, or the change there is just a little bit more noticeable, because I think it's mostly a YouTube thing. In fact, because I'm streaming it, that's why the quality. Here we go. There we go. That looks better. It was just auto quality was different. Sorry about that. Let's rewatch that. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's good. You're okay. Not my credits. If you're gonna like the next project then, because you're gonna just have a bunch of Walter White pictures up on the wall of like of your like realistic scene. It's gonna be great. This looks cool. I see that you have like some kind of, did you add an environment? Because your reflections have like an environment in them. So what do I mean by that? For those of you who can't tell, if you look, right, the reflections right here are a little bit green, right? There's a little bit of green going on. There's some brown happening. And it looks like there's almost like a reflection of an outdoor scene, right? So he could have added like a world and an HDR texture to that world, which essentially creates, instead of like adding physical lights, which is a lot of computing power that your computer needs, right? Because your computer is going to calculate anytime you have a light in your scenes in a 3D scene, it's going to calculate where it's hitting, where it's bouncing off, and then every place that that light bounces off of, it's going to calculate that kind of stuff. So adding a lot of lights in your scene can be kind of heavy. You added the red light to the side. Oh, maybe that's why. It might just be the material. That's okay. Thomas, let me grab that. Good timing. I'm just going to jump in my email real quick and I'll download that and I will we'll go over it. Did you say my email or did you send it in Canvas? Emailed it. Okay, let me look. Sweet, I see it here. Let's download this boy. Hello. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Efren added a red light, which could have changed just kind of the reflections based on the material, whatever kind of material that he used. There's dirt on the letters though. Okay, that's probably why. So the light with the material mixes and adds it different. I'll talk to you guys more about the HDR thing, right? So essentially what an HDR is it's not adding lights, but it's giving the illusion that there's like an environment in the background that can also add like a brightness to your scene, and it can add interesting things within reflections. This will be important too when it comes to us doing the Eve project where we create Eve from Wally, and we're gonna put like we'll probably put something in there so it reflects off of her body. But yeah, no, this looks really good. This looks nice. Good type here. Efren, did you use the standard render or did you use the did you use the gosh, why is the Redshift renderer? Let me know because I'm curious how your computer held up if you use the Redshift renderer. Because sometimes like I want to know so that I know if I can use that with you guys or not. It's complex, but maybe we can just get kind of into the basics of it because I'm also learning some more about that stuff. So, all right, I downloaded it. I know I did. Simpson bouncing ball. Let's download that again. All right, there we go. Let's drag this into here. Cool. Let's go over this one. And then, Efren, just let me know. Standard, my computer threatened to explode when I tried to use Redshift. Okay, we're not going to use Redshift in this semester. I kind of figured that might happen. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Standard one will work just fine for you guys, though. Oh, and then the, let me give you feedback real quick on the creative one was cool. I enjoyed that. Let me go back to here. Let me click back on this. Yeah, I thought that was neat. Really like creative use of like mixing up that looks cool. I would just maybe tap your name down just 1 pixel. To be honest, it's probably 1 or 2 pixels. Just drop it down a little bit. Because right now we're just getting this, a slight gap between the red right there where this one's like perfectly flush this way. So maybe I'm not going to be upset if you don't. And then if you want to add the Walter White stuff, which is hilarious, I will not knock you for that. As long as you do like you did here, like you did the do Walter White again. Okay, I'll play it again. As long as you're getting the main project through, right, and doing what you're supposed to do, the Walter White thing, I'm not going to knock you for it. Just when it comes to the your reel, just don't put this stuff in your reel because people will be like, what the heck? Really good job adding the on this one, right? Cool effects, by the way. So you have this happening where it's like old television kind of effect. And then here, this is neat too. You could even fade in his face much quicker. So you can start fading. You can cut out all this black scene right here and then have this happen at the same time the red part is going away and then just kind of have this fade up a lot quicker. I think that'd be funny. But yeah, really, really solid job on that project. Not a lot of changes for your typography one. Really good job. The ending is so cool. You guys make my life fun. Okay, let's play. Let's go to Thomas's Simpson. Where did it go? There we go. All right, Thomas, let's check this out. Play. Nice, solid job there. Right off the bat, really good job with the color palette. The first thing I would say is just kind of separate them a little bit further and give them a little room right over here. But the type, this section looked really nice. And you use the same color on the text, which is a detail that I appreciate. Nice. Good start on this. There's a couple little spots. So at the ball on the hand-drawn animate, first of all, pretty good job overall keeping the same volume. Right here, it gets actually, no, kind of, for the amount that you stretched it, you brought it in enough. It keeps the same volume. You could even exaggerate this squash a little bit more, so it's more exaggerated, like that stretch right there. But that looks really nice. But right here, where are you? There's a empty frame, so you're just going to have to... Angel, my Discord is just my name. So you can just... All you got to do is come up here to direct messages, and then you can also find me in here, which I'm not too far up. Maria, I already addressed this. We already talked about this. You could just click my name there, and let's see, click on my profile. Never mind. How do you do it? You can just go up here and direct message me. See if that works. Or you can send it to my Canvas email, whatever you want to do. Let's go through this one. So this blank frame, all you got to do there, Thomas, yeah, I couldn't figure out why there was an empty frame. You might have to extend the frame on there, or, right? So I think that your frame, because hold on, let me go. Let's do this one frame at a time here. This is why After Effects is great for playback. So we've got it there. It should, oh, not that. Control R. So I'm going to bring this here, right, to the top of the ball. So when the ball shows back up, if it's still touching here, then we can troubleshoot where the issue is actually lying. So let's just go frame by frame. So it's in the exact same spot. So your issue isn't in the exact animation. It is likely it's not, right? Where the issue probably is, could be inside of your hand-drawn pre-comp, where if you come here and you zoom in where they're end to end, you're probably got an extra frame, right? So if I were to drag this over, you'll have an extra frame right here. Because if I pull out of my scene, you might not notice it as much. But if I'm fully zoomed in on my timeline down here, I can see that gap that's happening right here, which is going to cause like a break in the scene. So I would check this first. And then if that's the case, just move this over. Grab that layer and move that one over. And then you'll want to just make sure all the rest of them are lined up back to back, right? So this one to this one, they're just butt up to each other. If this is not the issue, then you're going to want to go into Adobe Animate and address to make sure that there's 24 total frames, right? That you have 24 total frames drawn. And then if you don't, you'll have to draw an extra frame. Or what you can do is you can go into your file. So where your PNG sequence is, let's go to Bouncing Ball, Adobe Animate, my output here, which is my sequence. So mine starts at 100 and it goes all the way to 123. So you're going to want to make sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it starts at technically like 0, right? So there's 24 frames here total. I can tell that by looking at how many items are in my folder. So just make sure That's a quick way to see too if you might be missing a frame in your Adobe Animate one. You had an extra second. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a big one. There you go. You can just re-render and fix that. You don't have to resubmit it. Just save it for the next, just save it for when we submit for our revision round, right? Cool. So different ways to kind of work your way backwards and find the issue. Nice. Let's bring this up. So there was a one empty frame, so they didn't line up. Yeah, and then all you got to do here, right, is you have to, once you re-render that, all you got to do is select this hand-drawn import that you have, right-click, and just reload the footage if it's all in the same folder. If you re-render it all into the same folder, just reload the image. There. Yeah, obvious. Yeah, of course. And then let's look at the After Effects one, though, real quick. This one looks really good. You got the squashing and stretching happening here, and you've got the motion blur added on, but you just need to adjust those. So the Y position, your bounce up and down, it doesn't accelerate towards the ground and decelerate on the way back up. So you're going to want to check your curves on that because you've got the base of it done. All you got to do is update the curve. So I'm going to go to that ball real quick, and I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to click on the ball. And I'm going to hit P, and I'm going to go to my position. And you're going to want to make sure that your curves look like this. Something similar to this, right? Steep incline, steep decline. And then if you're getting the issue where you're not getting the Bezier handles, which was an issue that we had earlier in class, right? If you're not getting these little Bezier handles to grab it and pull it out, it's because your dimensions aren't separated. And so what you have to do at that point is you have to select the position. So like if I do that, if my dimensions aren't, like right now, my dimensions are joined together. So if I play this, I'm getting the same issue where it's not accelerating on the way down and decelerating on the way up. Even though my curves look almost correct, right? Technically it should be working, but it's not because we have to change this to curves. Right now everything's linear, right? And we don't want that. And so if it's like this, all you got to do is because now if I go to click on these, it's not going to give me those Bezier handles, right? I'm going to click this, and I don't get the option to change the curves. So you just have to click on the position, and then you click on this separate dimensions, and it will separate these dimensions for you. And at that point, I can bring my playhead all the way to the front, click this X position, which doesn't change at all. And I'm going to unkeyframe that so we don't have any keyframes. And then I'm going to just hit U on my keyboard, select that Y position, and then you're going to grab all of these and you're going to update your curves on these, right? You have to also make sure that everything is, because right when I did that, right here, these position keyframes that are right here, it turned those back to linear. So you might just have to do a little bit of adjusting there. But that's really the only issue that you have on the After Effects bouncy ball. Other than that, everything else is really good on it as far as like the blur and the squashing and stretching goes. And then for the Cinema 4D ball, this looks really good too. I think the only possible issue that you might have is that it might not be interpreted. The footage, you might want to just double check that the footage is interpreted. I actually think it is. I don't think you have a problem there. Just double check for me, and if it's not interpreted to 24 frames a second, just adjust that. I forgot to curve it, but it has the stop at the bottom. Yeah, it does have the stop at the bottom. Yeah, because it sticks to the bottom. It just doesn't, you just got to adjust those curves. And then just make sure that this was interpreted, like assets, go here, over here, 24 frames a second. If not, right click, interpret footage, main, and then just change that to 24. But I actually think it is. Just double check for me. My eyes are a little tired at this point. All right, you guys. And then the only one left, it looks like it took the rest of the class to go over these. I've got 10 minutes left. I'll probably talk about them. Let me see if, Efren, did you get that into me yet? Or, Evan? then you're all good to go. Don't worry about it. Evan, let me know if you get that in before the end of the night, and then I'll give you some feedback on that. Okay, cool. I am going to minimize this, and I'm going to just bring this over here, and we're just going to kind of talk about the new project. I'm not going to start anything right now since we are 10 minutes left, because it is taking a long time to go through all of these reviews. So I might have to continuously like split reviews for assignments in half, which will be okay, because it takes about an hour to go through everyone's or the whole class. All right, let's see here. Let me do this. We're going to publish it. So it's ready to go. Let me just check the due date here. 19th through the 26th. Cool. All right. So, real versus surreal scenes. We're going to be having some fun inside of Cinema 4D for this next project that we're going to start on Thursday's class. And, we're basically just going to create two scenes. One is going to be a surrealistic scene. So something out of like fantasy, dreams, kind of the subconscious, versus a realistic scene, which we're going to create. So I like to think of this as like, you know, these cool like isometric views that you have, like, let's see, isometric environment art. Yeah, just kind of like, but like if you were thinking of it like not an environment, but more like a room, right? I guess it could be realistic, but something kind of like, you know, very similar to this, right? Like, so we're going to be, it's not going to be at this angle because we're going to have camera animations to it. But like, think of, we're going to essentially build something very similar to this, right? We're going to have realistic, this is for the realistic scene. We're going to have realistic things in there. So I like to say, maybe model what your, something similar to what your, office looks like, or possibly like a room. I've had people do let's see, hold on one second. I've had people do bathrooms. I've had people do like kitchen areas, but the biggest thing about this, right, is that it's realistic, right? So realism is the quality of or fact of representing a person, thing, or situation accurately or in a way that is true to life. Okay, attention to detail is really important when it comes to realistic scenes. So when you're putting something together, right, you're gonna, like, if it's an office, let's just think about that. Realistically, you're gonna have like a desk, you're gonna have a computer, you're gonna have, maybe have some furniture in the room, maybe a bookshelf, but those things aren't gonna be empty, right? The bookshelf's gonna have books on it, things that are maybe there that are decorative items, maybe vases, maybe candles, maybe there's pictures on your wall. There's it could be your bedroom, right? And so your bedroom has a desk with a computer and stuff on your desk. And your bed maybe has like pillows on it, and maybe you have a side desk with a lamp and things like that. So like thinking about this, it's almost like a Sims, right? Yeah, see a lot of, yeah, see, that's what I said. And I know exactly what you're thinking about, the Walter White crap. Just gonna put it in all of the stuff. Like Walter White bedspread. Exactly what we want to go to sleep to. But a really good video to watch, an example of what like realism is this one right here. So over the next couple days, I would definitely or tomorrow and stuff, I would definitely do this section of it. You don't have to, you can get a little bit ahead if you want to and start doing some stuff, but for right now, I would definitely at least watch these so you have an idea of what realism is and surrealism is. Surrealism, think what's his name? Spanish artist. He does the melting clock. Brain fart. Melting clock. He's a famous surrealist painter. Salvador Dali. Okay. For some reason, Van Gogh is just like pounding my brain right now. But Salvador Dali is known for his surrealist images, right? So something, if you think of it's like a fever dream, then it's likely surrealist, right? The biggest thing that when you look over like when it comes to surrealism, it's a mix of like bizarre and fact and fantasy and a little bit of reality in there, but it kind of skewed, right? So it's a rejection of rationality and it embraces the irrational and the subconscious. So kind of like your dreams, right? A great thing to watch here, a PBS video on what surrealism is. But if we just take a quick look at these Salvador Dali images, you kind of get the impression of like these are things that we might find within our real life. So this is like obviously this is a female figure, but she's extremely distorted and skewed and kind of grotesque, right? And like stretched beyond the imagine and there's weird things attached to her, but then it's like so it's like a sense of like something familiar but skewed in a way that's very unfamiliar and surreal. And so that's why people kind of compare this to like um dreams in the subconscious, because like think of when you dream, things aren't like very sharp and like everything's very blurry and kind of faded and things don't look 100% like you would in real life, right? They're very skewed. And so just kind of getting a look into like what surrealism is by watching these videos is going to help you guys just kind of get a concept, a base concept of what we're going to be creating. And you guys can watch some examples here. So this is a past one that was done a few years ago, not by me, but by Dr. Farina, Dr. Casey Farina, who teaches other animation classes at GCC. And oh, I should move the face cam to the bottom right. There we go. Thank you for letting me know, Logan. Walter White's son. Yeah, cool. Jose nailed it. Salvador Dali. You probably had that before while I was brain farting, but watching this example kind of what we're going to create will give you an idea of what to do. You can download these two projects to kind of start pulling them apart and looking at them, which is a great idea, right? But you can't use these projects for your project. You have to build something of your own. Another thing that we have here is a template file. So let me undo that one. Let's do this. Right here, template file. I've updated this to a 2024 template file. And so you guys can download this to have it just ready to go. And then just, you can already do this if you want to. You can wait, but you can want to make sure that the settings are 1920 1080, that you're at 24 frames a second as far as like render settings out of Cinema 4D, right? And that you're, ready to go in PNG format with your alpha channel enabled and that you've got all frames selected, because we're going to do a little bit of animating on this of specifically if you watch this video of the example project, if I play this again, right here, right in the realistic scene, there's realistic stuff in here. I would add, if I had time, right, because as instructors we have limited time, but you could add a ton more stuff to this, right? The possibilities are this is a fun project because you can do a bunch of stuff here, but I'll show you guys how to do it too. We're not going to model anything. We're going to really use a browser, an asset browser, where we have these to our disposal, right? But when you're playing this, nothing in the scene is animated. The only thing that's actually animated in the real scene is the camera, right? So keeping that in mind. Now the surrealism scene, this is where things can get really fun and very, kind of bizarre and weird, because this is a lot of different things. And they're all animating in some way or another, and it's all rotations, right? There's really not any position change. I don't think there's any position changes here. Everything's added onto like kind of this mandala shaped thing that was created, and all of the layers are just rotated separately. And then there's a little bit of a camera push happening. So the camera is essentially dollying into the scene, pushing into the scene, to get kind of like this scaling effect of like the entire scene, like you're moving away or pushing into it. And so that's what we're going to do, something similar to the Surrealist one, and just kind of overlooking this module. And you guys can just read through it and try and figure out, okay, this is what we're looking at doing for this project, so that on Thursday's class you'll kind of be ready to go. Other than that, I'm sorry that I couldn't get to more of this part. I'm sorry we couldn't start it, but at least we've gotten through all of our bouncing ball animations that have been turned in. So now what we can do is focus on this all next class and really set up a cool scene for this project. And we'll talk about lights and we'll talk about rendering. We are not going to be using Redshift render. We're going to be using like the standard or really the viewport render, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in this scene and it's going to take a lot for it's going to be a heavy computer thing. I deleted all of these videos, so that's why they're not going to show up. The submissions are gone. Really good job, though, you guys, on this bouncing ball project overall. You guys really paid attention to the videos and stuff, and should be proud of yourselves. Do you guys have any questions before we head out? Let me see real quick. Evan, if you want to just turn that into me later, you can just email it to me still. To get credit, some credit for it, you know? Other than that, if you guys don't have any questions, I'll let you guys boogie on out. Start looking at this. It's a very Sims-like project, in my opinion. Also, for those of you who turn, Thomas, I know you turned yours in via email. I'll just link it to your thing to put the grade in. I don't have any more questions. I should get caught up on the typography. Yeah, not a problem. You can start that. All right, you guys, I will talk to you later. Have a good rest of the night. If you have any questions, of course, always ask me in Discord. Send me an email. Whatever you guys need to do. I'm going to be seeing a lot of Walter White. I'm just going to start putting that in my mind. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, something interesting at the end. We'll see. And then it was that. I should have known. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Enjoy your evening. Party hardy.